There was a time when we only were on one side of the screen, and we wondered what it would be like to create content, to have an audience, and to balance that with the rest of our life. And now we exist on both, and it's kind of like adulthood in a way. You can get all the advice in the world, you can listen to all the adults you look up to and want to be like, you can glean the challenges through common complaints, stereotypes, and what you see from those who struggle, but your own journey through adulthood will still be its own experience that you can't fully be prepared for. Like, we always notice the jokes and comments many YouTubers made about their own numbers and how their audience didn't like such and such a video, or how they'd expect to lose subscribers based on what they said in particular parts of a video. However, it wasn't until making videos regularly that we experienced these things ourselves. How YouTube analytics work kind of predisposes one to obsess about numbers, even in cases where ad revenue isn't a factor. Even with a better system, we think it would still weigh on creators, especially when you're hoping to make it a source of income, or even just try to reach an audience as opposed to making videos just for the joy of doing it. Though, of course, someone can make content for all these reasons and more. Despite the challenges we face, we have no intention of stopping, but it has been difficult to stick to our schedule and a few of our promises. We're still working hard on our Last of Us 2 essay, however, again, it won't be releasing tomorrow. But this time, we won't promise it'll be ready by next week. It'll be ready when it's ready, I suppose? We've always wanted to make our schedule clear and not leave everybody in the dark. And we've always been worried about being the type of YouTuber that consistently makes jokes about an irregular upload schedule. Maybe it's because any creators we've seen do it are already massively successful, some even garnering an audience despite only a handful of uploads a year. That, on top of ourselves being an intersectionally marginalized creator, honestly worries us. Even just being a black creator is something we consider at the back of our minds, and especially in the sphere of leftist YouTube, where there's been a dialogue for a while about how black creators don't get the attention of their white peers. And nothing makes this more relevant to us than the fact that most of you watching found us through Thought Slime's Eyeball Zone, highlighting only black creators, which by his own admission didn't do nearly as well as other similar videos he's done. And that was perhaps at the height of the visibility of the Black Lives Matter protests, which is simply sad. We are still thankful you are all here, however, no matter how you found us, especially if you stayed since before we really hammered out our voice as creators. Getting all that attention was like becoming somewhat of an adult. We did not expect to grow so quickly, and to have so many eyeballs on us so soon. Many creators don't hit 1K for over a year. We know that for some of you, it isn't that big a deal to wait a little bit longer for a long video essay, especially considering we're trying to make our health our priority. However, the part of our brain that senses when someone might drop off is tingling right now, as even some of the videos we are most proud of or have had the most success with have cost us subscribers, which isn't helped by YouTube telling creators the exact moment when the average viewer stopped watching a video, which especially for someone who easily obsesses about perceptions and numbers can be quite daunting. Considering our upload schedule, we will say this: we'll have at least one Fluffvlog Presents video essay a month from now on, but can't promise more than that. In the past, we thought we could handle the workload, but the circumstances of our complicated and challenging life has made that near impossible without hurting ourselves. We are still hoping that other content, including Fluff Bits and Fluffbite Plays, will be enjoyable for y'all, even if Presents is what you're mainly here for. We want to achieve the best work-life balance possible and still bring quality content. So that's the goal, as we still want to have room for weekly uploads. We'd also like to share a bit of what we've learned from being a content creator so far, as we hope to help any aspiring creators in our audience, as well as give any bites out there a peek at what being on this side of the screen is like, or at least has been for us. But don't worry, it won't only be downers. Finding your voice comes in waves. We found that out with our first few essays. Before the Sonobites were a thing, we really tried to stick to the formulas we've seen some of our favorite YouTubers use. Many who don't do art might think of every individual artist being either a complete original in their craft or simply a copycat. And although plagiarism does exist, most artists have role models in their field they aspire to be like. The challenge an artist eventually works through, however, is accepting their own uniqueness. Your inspirations will always have some effect on your work, or maybe even your style, but finding your voice is about what separates you from them. For the record, some of the YouTubers that have greatly affected our work, either rhetorically or in terms of style, are perhaps unsurprisingly been H-Bomber Guy, Thought Slime, Joystick, Jim Sterling, and American Johnson, amongst many others. More surprisingly though, we've also taken influences from Super Eye Patch Wolf, Shammy, Digine, Ragnaroks, and Fungo. Although it does kind of speak volumes that our work has been influenced exclusively by white people, it's a shameful truth of how few POC YouTubers, especially in these niches, exist. And we won't say there aren't POC creators we know about, we just haven't been influenced by them. Which is partially why we've tried hard to figure out our own style and fully own it, since there are plenty of things we don't have in common with these creators. Not just being black. But it's good to feel safe spreading your wings. No need to leave the nest too early or to go on longer flights than you can handle before you're ready. The Last of Us Black people was definitely a turning point for us valuing our experiences and fully owning them. That's when we found a style of thumbnail we felt good about, as well as starting to see more value in our experiences that may not be as relatable for our audience. And it was the first time we got a dislike on an essay. This means someone had a strong reaction. Despite the desire an artist may have to be widely loved, you can create something that everyone will like. And it prepared us, even just a little, to be okay with not pleasing everyone. We feel like the perfect apocalypse essay was the culmination of that desire to dig our heels into what makes us different, as well as making a video that is more for us than it was for what we think our audience wants. And, of course, as expected, it may be, to this date, the video that has lost us the most subs, despite still not getting any upset comments. We still don't know if it was because of the thumbnail or something else, but it's weird taking pride in something you know others will steer away from you because of. But we are getting used to it. That really gets into the meat and potatoes of what we've learned as a content creator through advice and experience. Losing audience members isn't always a bad thing. Building a good community is super important, and part of that is not trying to appeal to everyone, because if you do, that can make your content less unique, and could actually steer folks away from your content that will really enjoy it if your audience is filled with intolerant people who don't like those unique things. Like, if you're a trans creator who puts the comfort of your cis audience first and foremost, you might alienate many trans folks, and rightfully so. That isn't to say, however, one shouldn't take criticism to improve their work. However, we are still yet to get an unconstructive comment or one calling us out for saying something wholly messed up. We do know there is stuff for us to work on, however. We're a very hard critic on ourselves. A big thing that's hard to balance in this world, especially as a disabled content creator, is not overanalyzing all of your work, so much so that you don't release it. Because you can get caught fiddling with it, and just never releasing it. Which is what we were afraid of about The Last of Us 2 Part 2 essay taking so long. However, there are exceptions to every rule. ThoughtSlime is giving advice on content creation we've taken to heart, about giving yourself a deadline on which you release videos, regardless of the state they're in. But we found for us, sometimes hitting that deadline and releasing anyway would be us presenting incomplete thoughts, or not succinctly aligning our points. There's a difference between polishing a video for longer than you should and finishing it in the first place, which is a lesson hard learned from the Parappa video, since it took a month to finish, more if you include the writing stage. Part of that is having the confidence in your own process, which for us waxes and wanes depending on the video. Confidence can't always be 100%. We're only human. Work-life balance is such an important factor in content creation for sure. How our life is now, it is supremely easy to neglect our offline life and our life outside of content creation. We've strived to do that less, even though a lot of our experiences go into our work, especially our essays, but we try not to forget our life is elsewhere. However, given the state of the world, most of our life is online. We spend pretty much all of our socializing time online, so it's hard to make a clear separation between what's work and what isn't. We can't much say what it would be like making content regularly and living with family or loved ones, as most strong relationships we've had in person have ended before the level of success we enjoy right now and the burden it brings us. However, from the little bit we did experience when we did live with our past partners, we can say with confidence sticking with a work schedule helps immensely. We really hate that there were times that we could have hung out with our past partners but elected not to in order to get a video out on time. Making this type of stuff takes ages sometimes, and it's really easy to fall into workaholism. Ironically, however, this sensibility can also be applied to working on multiple platforms, as us being a Twitch streamer has also taught us to pace ourselves. For example, we often work little or not at all on days that we stream, partially for making sure we have the energy for streaming, but also so that we don't get caught up doing so much work on videos that we don't properly prepare for our streams beforehand. Sometimes we think we have to choose one or the other to completely focus on. But we really enjoy both sides of our content creation, and we found a level of success in both. We've recently became a Twitch affiliate, and it's really rosed our cheeks. We started doing both in order to increase the reach of our content, but we are finding increasingly that there are completely different flavors of fulfillment in both disciplines. So we'll say that we learned that one shouldn't spread themselves out too thin, but that branching out what you do can be awesome and become a cyclical passion as it has been for us. And, as you may have seen with the different flavors of videos we've recently released here, we are still experimenting with just what the scope of our content can be. And as any of you who watch our videos here and watch us stream can attest, you definitely get different sides of this fluff ball depending on where you watch us. Ah, I love cartoon violence. Oh, it's a dino! It's a lot of dinos! Ah! They make such cute sounds when you hit them! They're like little stuffed animals! Or squeaky toys. These ones are dead though. Ooh, a threat! I like threats. I was kind of bored with there being no threats. Why? Oh, I'm about to be annoying as fuck. I get to ask why, like a small child, over and over again. And it's like, oh, because we need to go. Why? Because it's time to go. Why? Because this is the time we go on the mission. Why? Because we agreed on it. Why? Because we had a round table about when we should do it. Why? Because our guild is egalitarian. Why? Because we think that people should be able to make their own decisions and we should leave things to a vote. Why? Because we believe in democracy? Why? I don't know why, Leah. I don't know. And we wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest. Anyway, thanks for watching, especially if you got this far. And for the first time in a Fluffvlog, we'd really like to thank our wonderful patrons, as your support means the world to us. And of course, those patrons are Jamie J, Sammy, Valued Customer, and 12 Face Productions. Anywho, that's pretty much it for our Fluffvlog. Hope you stay tuned for our next couple of videos. We'll definitely, if not, have the Last of Us 2 essay out whenever we can. We'll also be working on the Deltarune essay because September is starting. So, see you later, everybody. This has been Mochabyte, logging off.